All right. Should be up and running. All right.
Listen.
Should be up and
Sure.
running. Should be good to go at this point. Um,
Hello. Wait, hold on.
Matt, say something for
Hello
us.
there. Oh, okay.
You good? Yeah.
Think so.
All right. Second time's a charm.
Okay. Cool. I'll just put it close to my face. Ah! What the fuck? All right, whatever.
Why? What?
That was kind of loud. I don't know. It just seems quiet, but I'll just fucking talk loudly, I guess.
All right.
Good enough.
Second time's a charm. That took way too long. Long story short, I was trying to stream and record with OBS, but when in the recording, I wanted to have two audio tracks. So when I edited the audio version of the podcast for release on audio platforms, I could have two tracks to edit. That way I could normalize and equalize, different the sounds of my mic and the sounds of Matt's mic. That did not work out as planned. If you were with us for the first half hour, we were dealing with technical issues. Got that figured out, and we're back on track, recording an audition the way we normally used to, while live streaming it to the masses like we're doing right now. So thanks for sticking with us. If you did, we really appreciate it. We've got the now we know for the future, and it's one of those now you know, like, or the more you know moments. You know how the star. Have you ever seen that meme? Oh, yeah. So it's one of those moments. We've got this figured out. We're good to go. We're just gonna hop right in, and we're just gonna say welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the W Key Podcast finally happening. Episode number 24. Taken off. There's a lot to talk about this week. And it's been a couple weeks, obviously. Every other week is when we release our episode. So it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast. A lot of things have happened. We thought, when we released 2 weeks ago, our first live stream event as well, you can go back on our Twitch page and watch that, and our YouTube channel. The whole Mixer deal happened, the Mixer died essentially on that day. And so we thought that was like a big deal. We're like, oh, normally like news, like big things doesn't, that stuff doesn't happen while, in our recording window. Usually it always happens like the day after we release an episode. So then we have to wait 2 weeks to talk about it in the next episode. But we got lucky and the Mixer thing happened. That was big. But there's been some bigger things that literally happened like the day after that episode aired. So we're going to talk about that today. We've got a bunch of other things to talk about. We're going to hop right in. I feel like we've wasted enough time. We want to get this out there. The audio situation was a whole debacle. If you're listening on the audio only version of the podcast, you missed a good half an hour debacle on Twitch, trying to get our audio straightened away. But we finally got it straightened out, figured out what we need to do, and we're here doing it. So we're just going to, like I said, jump right in. We're going to start off with some quick hit stuff, things that are good to know, but it's not like the meat and potatoes what we want to talk about today. So as far as that kind of stuff, first thing that pops up that I'm sure a lot of people have seen or a lot of people are interested in, Horizon Zero Dawn is releasing via Steam on August 7th. It's going to be $50 if you want to pick up a copy of that for the PC. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great edition, but it's the
yeah,
game and the DLC.
It's the complete. Yeah, it's the complete edition. Pretty awesome in my opinion.
I'll say it's nice, but it's like, why is it always take
3
so
years?
Games come to PC? Like, here, we just announced 2, so now we'll give you PC players 1, so you can wait another 3 years. It's always been like that, but
yeah, it has.
What can you do about it?
I mean,
say it's gonna look goddamn amazing. When I played it on the PlayStation, I was like, is this a PC? Like, it looks so good. So I can only imagine this thing running on the high-end PCs. It's going to look phenomenal.
I know, I'm pretty excited. I was joking last night when we were playing COD. I was like, I was getting really fed up, and I was like, oh, with Death Stranding coming out, which I'll hit on actually. Segue. Death Stranding is coming to PC the 14th of July, so literally in like 2 weeks, or a week rather, 2 weeks.
PlayStation haven't finished that yet.
Yeah. Either. So I was joking. We were getting funneled in COD, and I was joking that with Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding coming to the PC, I'm probably not going to play COD a lot moving forward, just because there's these two games.
A lot of hours could be put into those two games.
Yeah.
Take you away from the rage of COD, let me tell you what.
So pretty interested about that. I mean, I'm going to look into picking, I'm going to look into those for sure when they come out. New BR on the scene. Ubisoft is jumping into the Battle Royale genre. A new game called Hyperspace.
Is that Escape?
Or Hyperscape. Shows how much I know.
Yeah, Hyperscape.
Oh, Hyperscape. I haven't really.
Just looked at it.
I was gonna say.
Like, oh, that does say space.
Yeah, for some reason I was like, oh, it's space, right? I didn't even check it. Shows how good I am. So Hyperscape. Sorry about that. It's built from the ground up with Twitch chat integration and viewer involvement in the actual rounds that you play. So it's pretty cool. I've watched a few different games, a few different rounds, and essentially like events will happen in game, and you can vote on what event you want to happen. So you get like 3 or 4 choices. It'll be like double, or unlimited ammo, no grav, stuff like that. And basically you just click on it, and if you're subbed, your vote counts like 4 times over, which is kind of cool. So it's
that's like straight ripped from Darwin Project.
Yeah.
That BR at all.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I googled Darwin Project to see if it was made by Ubisoft, to see if they just like kind of took the idea and filtered it into a new game, but it wasn't. It's like, oh, people kind of picking at a game that not a lot of people know of anymore these days.
Yeah.
It's kind of nifty, because Darwin Project was kind of a similar thing. People don't know. Like, you'd have people fighting in a BR mode, but then there's a guy another actual legit player floating around as like I can't remember what it's called, like a moderator or the Overwatch or Overseer or something like that.
Yep.
And he could fly around, and he could do the same thing, like give people stuff. He could close off certain sections. He can do zero gravity. That's also another thing. So it's like pretty similar. And I mean, it's nifty. It is a good way to get Twitch chat involved in the game.
Yeah, so it's cool. I've watched some rounds, like I said, and the voting's pretty cool. Did you? Yet. Nice.
Yeah.
The voting's pretty cool. You can see the loadouts, like the team that So I was watching Lupo play, and it's like you could see everyone's loadout for the whole team. You could see like stats on the team, like damage, kills, things like that. So it's very interesting. It's bridging that gap of like bringing gaming, like bringing the art of watching gaming kind of on par with like the experience of watching sports almost. Because when you watch a sporting event, you have they show you stats, they show you time left, like who's on the court, fouls and all that kind of stuff for basketball as an example. And so this game is kind of taking that and adding it to the gaming streaming world, which hasn't really yet to be done. I wouldn't say successfully, but like on a game that's gone off on a massive scale. So I think Ubisoft is hoping that this game hits pretty hard and it becomes kind of a new BR staple. The mechanics are pretty cool, like the integration with Twitch chat and everything that the viewer can see via the built-in plugins. It's pretty cool. And then the other thing that's kind of neat is some of the actual in-game mechanics. So when you're dead, you're not just spectating your teammate, you're a ghost essentially, and you can run around and you can make call outs for your live person, the team, whoever's in the team that's still alive. You can make call outs for them. You can respawn. You know, if your teammate kills the person that kills you, you can basically like respawn into their body, use their body as like a way to respawn. But also you can find dead opponents throughout the battlefield and respawn into those opponents. The thing you got to keep in mind with that though is like, you know, their dead teammate and one of their live teammates might be spectating the space. So if you respawn into that, you know, that dead body, their teammates could be right there waiting to kill you. So, and then in that case, their teammate would be able to come back in.
And very interesting
Yeah.
death thing. I mean, I feel like that's like the big thing a lot of people focus on when building a new BR is like how can you change, I guess, being dead or being down or being knocked out.
Yep.
You know, Apex started it with the reboot mechanic, and then Fortnite ripped that, and then COD kind of took another step further. Like, well, you get a 1v1, you can respond from that, but if you do die, you can get bought back from buy station. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the
now
one
the
of big things
jailbreaks and fire sales.
that's like the biggest thing you'll see in new BRs. Like, how do they deal with being dead, knocked out, kill? Like, well, what will they do to change it up? I mean, that's like one
Yep.
area that you can kind of take on it. But I mean, the game has a lot of cool things in it, a lot of cool mechanics. But I don't know. Watching it, it just doesn't seem super. I don't know. I'm not super interested in it. I watch it. I'm like, it looks cool, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't really pull me in too much.
Yeah, it's the gunplay doesn't seem
It seems
good.
Strange.
Yeah, and it seems a little bit too fast paced. Like, not that being fast is a bad thing, but like,
No.
you know, it's just hard for me.
Jumping out of the sky onto you. You can hit jump pads, go flying in the air. People slamming the ground. You got ghosts walking around.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and for me, it just seems like it would be tough, you know, from my standpoint to like track enemies and actually take engagements. It reminds me a lot of Lawbreakers. Did you ever play Lawbreakers? Do you remember that game at all?
Sounds familiar, but I can't picture it in my mind right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was a team deathmatch game where they had all this different kind of stuff like low grav areas. You know, it was hero based and you had different abilities and everyone had different guns and it was just a lot of running around because essentially you're like Lawbreakers stood for like you're breaking the laws of physics essentially. And it was fun. It's just very hectic and chaotic, but in a confined team deathmatch map, like style of map, that seems fine. But in a giant open BR, it does seem like it would get a little overwhelming from my perspective.
I don't like hectic or chaos when it comes to battle royales because like we have a hard enough time getting our team and like COD to focus on one opponent or the right person.
Yeah,
and we get nuked. So
we don't team shoot very well.
No, yeah. So imagine trying to get everyone. Like I'd just be upset because it's like, why aren't we shooting this man? Like if we all focus this guy, he's gonna die real quick, and we go one to the next, to the next. But in Hyperscape, it would just be like chickens run around their head cut off. It just seemed very crazy and hectic, like you said. But
no, it's true.
I think the beta goes away tomorrow, so I don't think I'm gonna get a chance to try it out. I'm pretty sure. Wait, no, I think the 8th is what it is.
Yeah.
Keys stop dropping tomorrow. I think the test goes away on the 8th, so I have like a day and a half to try it out. But I really don't feel like
it. I mean, the mechanics, like the death mechanics and the integration with Twitch chat, those things are definitely pillars to build off from.
Cool tools.
Yeah.
Straight ripper. And I will say, like graphically, it looks cool.
It does.
It looks nice, but the gameplay itself, I'm just kind of like
not 100% sold on yet.
Yeah, run around like electric ball lobber grenade launcher thing, and like people have Gatling guns. It just kind of seems very, very strange.
Well, and it seems like a lot of Fortnite shooting, like not that you're not third person, but not many of the streamers that I watch zoomed in. Yeah, nobody really ADS.
Hip firing action going on,
and I think a lot of it's hit scan. But still, I mean, do they have? Is bloom an issue? You know, I don't know. It's that type of shooting is just not. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather ADS predominantly and then hip fire when I need to. Kind of like COD and PUBG and stuff like that. But this game seems like you just kind of freewheeling and just only ADS when you have to, which doesn't seem to be very often. So
I just like my straight up. You get a gun, you go around and try to shoot people up. Like don't throw too many, I don't know, cogs in the it's just it seems like a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, there
why
does.
add all this other layers to it? Just I like to run around, run and gun with my team. It's
Yep.
what I enjoy. So
So
I don't know.
So that's interesting. It could, it could hit big. It could find a market. It could find its legs. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I can definitely see it, like people taking ideas from it for sure. Like, if the game itself doesn't stay around,
Yep.
I feel like could definitely get picked at for ideas for people.
Sure. I mean, like I said, a couple of the pillars of the mechanics do seem really interesting. So I totally agree with that. Something we mentioned, or we've mentioned a few times, it's pretty much all been confirmed, outside of like the actual next gen manufacturers, Microsoft and Sony confirming it, but they're, as we suspected, next gen console games are going to be $70. So they've gone up every,
somewhere.
every year essentially, or every generation they've gone up. It used to be $49.99, and they were $59.99. I know, and they were $59.99. Now they're going to be $69.99 or $70 essentially. So, obviously that is $10 is $10, and especially in the situation with the pandemic, who knows how long that's going to last, and getting everyone back on their feet working. I mean, it's. I don't foresee it really impacting the gaming industry much, but these are all things you have to take into account, and it's just another. I'll say it a zillion times. It's just another kind of step in the wrong direction as far as like the gaming industry not really giving a shit about the people they're the people they're trying to appeal to. So it's like I don't know, like. I know they got to make their money, and developing these next gen games puts more, there's more man hours, there's more people working, or there's more work hours. There's more people who are doing the coding and building the game and doing the graphical assets. So there's more work going into these games. So rightfully so. I do get it that they should be more money.
I will say a lot of games these days come with some way to get more money out of you. Like,
exactly. Microtransactions.
Like so it's like, what's the point? Like, don't raise the price of the game when you're going to make another buttload of money off of people buying in-game stuff.
It just shows that they don't care. They don't care about they just see us as money cows.
Like, you tell me I'm gonna be raising kids in the future where a game costs $100 to buy for whatever console that ends up being on. It's like,
maybe.
God, no, man.
Yeah.
It's like a fifth. If it gets up to $100, that's like a fifth of a console. Like consoles, this generation, people are estimating around $500, $550, and it's like we're getting towards a game being a fifth of the console for one singular game. And it's gotta stop eventually. That's just absolute insanity.
No, it is. It's interesting to think about it in that context. Are they just going to, every generation, are they just going to keep jacking the price? And like you said, microtransactions are there, so they're making a ton of money off. They're making a ton of money off the sales.
So much money.
Yeah, they're making so much money off the sales of the game, and then they're also turning around and making money hand over fist in the microtransaction side of things. So,
we're on season 4 of COD.
And granted, Warzone's free technically.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm saying like people like us who bought the game.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten all 4. I spent $40 already getting battle passes. That's almost the entire game.
Yeah.
It's not even a year old, so they're making plenty of cash. I bought 2 games essentially.
Oh yeah.
Stuff, and they want to jack up the price.
So that's
I guess that's the one positive maybe you can look forward to is just they keep getting these free BRs, and people are just going to live off that, save money. It's like, oh well, I'll get this free game because I can't afford the $70 actual.
I know. Yeah, so that's, it is a trend that is potentially disheartening in the future. So, obviously we've got another, with this next generation, we probably got another 10, 15 years before we get another console. So, we'll complain about it in 10, 15 years. So, yeah. So, I know.
New GTA. Give me GTA 5.
Give me GTA 6. Give me GTA 6 in 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Next thing, the Xbox Series X game showcase is happening on the 23rd of this month. So PS5 just had a big future of gaming event. They have promised that there are more things to come this summer from the PS5. Xbox, obviously, most of all the specs have been released for both consoles, anyways. And then Xbox did have a game showcase in May, I think it was.
I mean, it wasn't too long before
No.
PS5s.
I think it was in May, late May, early June, maybe, and they showed snippets of like 6 different games, and we already talked about this. Half of those games were like horror-esque genre games that just seemed like they were so out of touch with what gamers wanted. I am hoping for something substantial from this this game showcase.
They've guaranteed a Halo Infinite something.
Yeah, I mean, but that's everyone expected that,
I know.
Halo, it's not coming out of nowhere. It's not like Halo Infinite's like a drop like that. No one was expecting.
So you want something come out of nowhere.
I want a game. I want some games that can compete with PlayStation 5. With their games. And if they come in and they drop some like,
here's Gears 6.
Yeah, or if like, oh, here's Knights of the Old Republic like remake, or here's Knights of the Old Republic 3. Like, I just splooge myself. So
I mean, I feel like they got coming something big. They saw, like I said, PS5 was great because they started off with Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man game, which is great, and they ended with Horizon Zero Dawn 2, just 2 big haymakers, I think. So, Xbox knows what they got. I mean, I will say though, what's his face?
Phil Spencer.
Phil Spencer.
So he felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it's like, after seeing that, we feel pretty comfortable. So like, those are some big words to say, man, because PS5, sure, the stuff in between those 2 releases were
so I would say there's some hit or miss stuff in between, which we talked about last episode. But
I mean, like I said, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, dude, that game is so good. 2 can count as like 5 Xbox games in my books. Just because Horizon Zero Dawn is so good. So if he's saying he feels confident, hey, let's see it. Back it up. Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll definitely be talking about that. Unfortunate thing is that's going to be the 23rd, which is the day after we release our next episode after this one. So, like I said, it always happens that way. It always happens that way. So,
maybe we can stretch it back something like that. So, like, we watch Thursday.
Maybe we can live stream the watch. Yeah, we've got this whole Twitch channel now. We can do a watch party. Yeah. Boom. Solved it. So that's pretty cool. And then the final thing for like quick hit game news. Breath of the Wild. I figured they were going to get a sequel, or it was going to get a sequel. I just hadn't really heard much about a sequel. And then I just recently saw, a post or an article saying that the voice actors who worked on Breath of the Wild 2 says the game is pretty much finished, or they've finished work on the sequel. So obviously the voice actors have finished work. So they, it doesn't mean the game is done. It doesn't mean all the rendering.
I think like the Spanish version. I'm not taking it like saying it's changes anything.
Yeah.
It's not like the full English version. It's like the Spanish voice actors say they've done their part.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's pretty far along, I guess is the way to look at it. Obviously work on it's been happening and it's pretty far along. So I would imagine they would finish the English voice acting before they finish like other English number one. Like not saying that. I just I think they know their majority of their not majority of the demographic, but a large portion of their demographic is in the United States or English speaking countries. So they would have done the English first. So again, that lends even more info to the fact that the game is pretty far along. Maybe holiday season this year, we might get it, or around first couple months of 2021. Either way, we'll see. We'll let you know, and we'll keep you guys up to date on that kind of stuff.
Because like the only thing we've seen was like the trailer they dropped during E3 last year.
Yeah,
dropped something.
They might have something at Gamescom, because that's starting next week. Their live event, their online event is starting next week, I believe. It's next week. So yeah, they might have something at Gamescom, Gamescon. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out. If anything happens, we'll let you guys know for sure. Because
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild was a hell of a game. So
Oh yeah.
um,
Amazing.
it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with the sequel. If how they buff thing. How they come back. Breath of the Wild was a massive punch for punch up for the Switch. So let's see how they follow up that with something else.
Right.
Obviously,
It might be some like 2-player type of stuff. Like,
yeah,
Zelda's not some lost princess. Like, you actually get the game with her by your side. Link and
yeah.
Zelda just out there tearing up, which would be pretty cool.
So, and they, side note, little sidetrack. I like how Breath of the Wild didn't. There wasn't a lot of hand holding. Like you could go any area of the map you wanted to at the very beginning. Granted, some of the areas had like high leveled people, so it was nice in that sense that it was interesting, I guess, and not always nice because sometimes you might get your ass handed to you, but
get too far and you realize you can't go.
yeah. So, but it was good in the sense that like it just kind of was like, hey, you want a game, like figure it out. I hate the games that are overly involved in like teaching you every single aspect of the game, like through tutorials and stuff like that. Like just give me the basic idea of the game and let me kind of figure it out.
And like you had to go get all those mythical beast things, and it's
Yep.
like 3 of them, and they don't. There's no set of orders. Like here's their locations. You decide how
Yep.
you want to do it. And some are definitely a little more easier than others. So you could pick a hard one off the bat. Now you know it until it's kind of like shit. I should have gone this way.
Yeah. So Breath of the Wild 2, looking forward to that. And like I said, we'll keep you up to date on that kind of stuff when we get more hard info on that. Now we're going to hop into what's up, Baggy? What's going on? We're going to jump into more of what I would consider the meat and potatoes of what we wanted to talk about for this episode. Mid-season update for Call of Duty. Season 4 is currently happening. They called this like Season 4 Reloaded, I think was the actual title, quote unquote, of the patch.
Revert is what I say.
Yeah. And there was a lot of stuff. There were a lot of things done to the game. Some of the things have had larger impacts than others. Looking at you, Grau. But we'll hit off like the kind of, I guess, game level and just kind of general stuff. First big thing to come to the game with this update is the 200 player quads.
A lot of homies.
Yeah, a lot of people. So they promised 200 players back when they announced like Warzone as a whole, back before the game was ever released. And, they haven't hit 200 yet. Obviously they have now, but it's only on the quad playlist. It's not on trios, duos, or anything like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
People, holy shit!
I know. Well, because they have, so there's a few promises that they have yet to fulfill, and they're sort of doing one now, which was the 200 player count. That was one of the things they mentioned, and they've also been, and they have talked a decent amount about like more higher squad totals, like 5 and 6 player squads. They've tossed that idea around.
That would be
so I think you get up to 200 players. I think a five-man squad is pretty doable. I think that's probably a good idea. So I'm not against it. I think that would be a good idea. The big problem with 200 players at this point in time is it seems like their servers are just like janky, like HP Pavilion computers from like the early 2000s in a fucking volcano, because they don't run very smooth. Like to me, like Sean, our buddy Sean, complains all the time about high ping, packet loss, things like that. I mean, my ping's usually 60, 70. It never really gets above 70, but I can still just feel the stutter. Like the ping will never go up, and I'll never have more packet loss. It stutters like crazy. So the server, the hit registration. Oh boy. Flying solo right here. So to keep the conversation going, I'll catch Matt up to speed when he gets back. And anyone watching, if you feel the same way, let me know. But I feel like, the hit registration, the latency, all that stuff plays into the game. So where there's this hit registration errors, there's getting shot around corners, that stuff seems to be happening a lot more. Just general playability, I don't know if they've had to lower the tick rate of the server to be able to fit the 200 players in, because that would be a real performance hit. Now, I would rather stay at 150 with a higher tick rate as opposed to going up to 200 at a lower tick rate. I don't know if they have lowered the tick rate, but Matt, what I was saying is essentially I feel like there's higher latency. Getting shot around corners seems to be more prominent, and just the janky stutteringness of the game seems to be a bit higher in the 200 player lobbies.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a little more laggy, I could say. One of my issues too, it's not like super huge, but it's just like before it was tough with 150, but that's like impossible with 200. If you come back from the gulag,
there's people everywhere.
You can't go anywhere to land to get anything. So it's like, I won, so I come back to the game. Now you get to go to just absolutely picked clean houses. And run around a pistol. You're forced to go do a contract, and it's like, well, I can't do any contract that requires fighting because I have a pistol in my hand. So it's just tough to, you get hyped, you win the gulag, you come back, well, we got another chance, but then it's like, where do you land? There's no place to go to get any loot. Like every place is covered and picked clean off the first drop. Yeah,
that's true. Something else that we actually didn't have on this list of things we wanted to talk about, but it was something interesting that I read the other day. So I read an article. There was a Reddit user. I don't remember the Reddit username, but it wasn't anything I did. He and his friends, he was playing in trios. He decided, fuck it, I'm gonna, for testing purposes. This is all for science, mind you. He went and found a hack. He found, $12 for a 24-hour hack. Because by the sounds of things, these people have to pay a monthly fee. Most of the hackers have to pay a monthly fee to have these hacks. It's not just a one and done. I know, exactly. So he found a 12-hour. Jack is cool. What's going on?
Chinggis Jack?
I don't know. Is that Chinggis? Is that you?
Chinggis. Big Chungus.
Either way. So they had, whatchamacallit? Jesus. So they bought hacks, $12 for 24 hours. And
deal, might I add.
I know.
Exactly.
And so basically what they did is they dropped in, they played for 7 hours straight, match after match after match after match. And based on playing, all he did was wall hacks, no aimbot or anything like that. He through all the playing, the 7 hours of nonstop games, he came to the conclusion that pretty much he's in the 1.0 to 1.5 KD 1.5 KD area, so the 1.0 to 1.5 KD range. He came to the conclusion that essentially there are at least 3 or 4 squads with at least one person hacking in every match you play, even in that level. Not always aimbot. Sometimes it's just wall hacks, which is what this guy had from this Reddit post. Basically, because you can see, what direction they're facing. Are they prone? Are they, what stance they're doing? Yeah, if they're ADSing, you can see their name, I think, as well. And so, if you're behind a wall looking at someone else who's behind a wall across the map, and they're also looking at you because you can tell via your wall hack, it's a pretty good bet that person exactly. It's a pretty good bet that person is also cheating. So essentially, 7 hours of straight matches. Every match had 3 or 4 squads with at least one player on that squad that was hacking. Most of the time it was wall hacks. By the time you got to the 4th circle, he said about 80% of the teams left had wall hackers in that team. So it's essentially just rampant. Like the cheating is off the hook in this game. Everyone thought that they fixed it with that update, the free-to-play side of things where you had to require a phone number, but apparently there's an app out there, or there's some sort of way that you just basically you can buy like phone numbers in bulk, like, and if they ban the account that you use the one phone number, you just swap over, use the next phone number, and you just create a new account with that, load up the hack. So essentially, I wouldn't say it's unlimited, but it seems almost like there's unlimited times to hack. Essentially, you just get banned and just get a new phone number, get banned, get a new phone number. So
I don't know what it is with this update, but hacking is like back.
It does seem
primo level. I've played the past 2 times I played on shipment. I'm grinding guns. I've seen 2, actually 3, because
just blatant aimbotters.
Three blatant aim hackers on shipment. One was on my team. The dude was just standing in the wide open, just mowing everyone down. We won by a tactical nuke. I reported him because I felt bad. Today I was playing 2 blatant aim bars on our team. I even everyone was messaging, and the guy just confessed. I'm like, one guy's like, "Oh, where'd you get those hacks?" I'm like, "Great, a hacker." He's like, "Yeah, I coded it myself." Like, blah blah blah. I love it. Like, why? Why do you do this? Like, because I like to see you get pissed off. And then the kid is just going on
some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. Well, the kid was an idiot too. He's like, "Oh, you don't get banned if you have the paid version of the game. You only get banned if you have the free version."
No, that actually, and so I watched a YouTube video.
Him and his friend were instantly gone after he said that.
Really?
So I think he got banned. Yeah. Was that true? Is what he's saying true?
So
you get banned if you have the paid version.
I was watching a YouTube video where a streamer jumped into a game, got killed by a hacker, joined the hacker in the in the game lobby after, and was talking to me like, "Hey man, like, so hypothetically, like, what do you do?" And he goes, he's like, "Well, they don't." He's like, hypothetically, if you're a paid player, they don't really do anything to you, and it sort of makes.
He's been doing it for 4 months.
Yeah, and so
I don't know if he just backed out.
Yeah,
he wanted to, or if he got banned. But as soon as he said that, him and his friend that were hacking were just instantly removed from the game. So I don't know if he left or if they got banned mid game because this was bad. Like, I'd never seen hacking in multiplayer. I don't even think this high, even back in day 1. Like before, maybe he's hacking, I'm not sure. These are blatant aimbots that no one can miss, and I'm just like, okay. And even then, the fact that he's just fessed up to it, like, yeah, I made this hack.
Yeah,
I like to do it because it makes you mad. Blah 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 blah. Ha 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 ha. I'm like, okay, well, this guy's admitting to it, so hopefully we can take care of him. But
so
I don't know what they did in this patch, but hacking is back, baby.
I know, and yeah, it's bad. So so based on what that guy said, it sounds like they're probably less likely to ban a paid player because
they gave him money.
I said they got your money, and but who knows? That's not verifiable, or unless someone at Activision comes out and says, So there's that. So that whole cheating thing, that's kind of a side, it's not something that this patch directly did. Like, they didn't say, "Hey, in this patch, we're going to introduce a lot more cheaters into the game."
They did something that seems
something happened. I mean, I think the cheaters just found a way to get around it too. Yeah. But either way, since the Reloaded patch, it has been worse, I would say, as well, and based on 100%. That kid's 7 hours of gameplay, he came to the conclusion that there's just hackers in every game you play. So we're in the 1.0 to 1.5 KD range, so apparently we're running into hackers left and right, which
I played today,
even just wall hackers, because they know where you are. That's the thing. Yeah,
today seemed better. Like, I played some games earlier today. It wasn't that bad. It was fun. I actually enjoyed myself. So maybe they did. I will say my game did have to restart today because there was a mini update that came out. So I don't know if they've
done something
really quick to fix it. But I enjoyed myself today, where the past few days I have not.
Yeah. So actual in-game changes, supply run contracts. So upon activation, you and your squad, if your squad is still up, will be directed. Well, so really just anyone, if whoever is left on your team starts this contract, you'll be directed to a nearby buy station. If you reach that buy station within the time limit, you get a discount on buy station purchases.
Fire sale prices.
Yeah, and so it's cool. and it seems useful, but the thing that sucks is I think it's coded into the contract to like put the buy station at least 500 meters away from your current location. So unless you have a car and you want to take that risk of driving, this contract is essentially useless.
I did one earlier today, and so I picked it up like at the bottom of quarry, and
Yep.
the one they sent me to was the top of quarry, which is like I think it was like 250 meters.
Was it the end of
This
the
was-
game or?
It was pushing later-ish.
Okay,
game,
that might be
yeah.
why. I mean, obviously you have to deal with how many buy zones you have in the circle.
Yeah. So like if you want to get like a great deal on these things, wait for
Use
later
them,
in
yeah,
circle,
use
'cause
them
they
late
can't really send
game.
you too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get free self reses, dirt cheap, everything else, and
So
you can buy your teammates back for free too, like the fire sale.
and
Or either that cheap.
on top of that, something that I don't know that I want to expose too many people to. I saw a video on YouTube from a YouTuber called JGod. Go ahead and check him out. He was watching a streamer. He basically got tipped off to this like almost, not, I would say infinite, but like long ass advanced UAV. So they basically had a ton of money, and during a fire sale, they went and they spent all their money on UAVs. So they had, each of them had like 20 grand, and UAVs are like $800 during fire sale. And they bought like just as many as they could with the 20 grand. And they basically just popped them one right after another, after another, after another. They had an advanced UAV for like 4.5 minutes.
That's actually insane.
So yeah, I mean, if you get a ton of money and it's late game, you have a ton of money, this could be useful to get
Folks,
advanced UAV.
If you pop 4 of them, you get a counter UAV, put it up.
You do. So sidetrack on that.
Suggested
I was just gonna say.
2 before.
So that's a little hidden thing, like the advanced UAV. 3 UAVs give you an advanced UAV. That's not something that's in the buy station. That's just something you have to learn. Apparently, 4 UAVs gives you the advanced UAV, and it puts up a counter UAV for everyone else. So I was kind of like, hey, look at that! Like they're listening to us, because in the episode before season 4 launch, we were talking about how to change the game up a little bit, make it different, and we mentioned bringing counter UAVs to the buy station. So that's not really directly doing it. But then, lo and behold, yesterday I saw a post from Dexerto, I believe, saying that they're planning on bringing counter UAVs to the buys. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, man, just, if you're going to take our ideas, just give us credit for it. Like, I mean, that's all we ask.
We're so smart.
I know. So the supply run contracts could be useful in that situation. Late game, you have a ton of money, go buy a bunch of UAVs. Obviously, they're useful for getting squad mates back in a pinch if you can make it, because the reses are free, and then also self revives are free. So they have their place, because I do think, I don't know if they've done away with fire sale completely, but
I had one today.
Okay, I was gonna say I haven't seen it very often. I've seen jailbreak more, and then I haven't seen the supply copters in a while, which I'm happy about, because those things are so loud and so annoying, and I hate them so much.
But yeah, I like this supply run contract a lot, because it gives you a way to get your teammates back kind of all in one without having to do the most wanted bounty contract.
Yeah,
like I feel like a lot of ways to get cash fast and to get your teammates back is contracts that involve you to go fight someone. So I'm kind of down to have, add a few contracts in here that don't necessarily direct you straight into combat. You're probably going to go near people, near that buy station. But I like it. I'm a fan of a contract that is like non-combative, you could say.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. And like I said, I didn't realize, and I actually hadn't put too much thought into it. But later game, it's definitely more applicable later game, the smaller the circle is, because if there's less buy stations, the better your chance you have of it being closer. So the next thing they added a new tactical to the game. It's called the spotter scope. It's only in Warzone, so it's not something you can have in like base multiplayer or anything like that. So it's essentially like a high-powered scope, like more or less a sniper scope, but you have a handheld version. It would take the place of like your heartbeat sensor and things like that. And it's got dual zoom. It's got thermal as well, very much like the UAV drone or the whatever, the recon drone that you get. And basically when you look through it, you don't get any lens flare. So, if you're spotting people, much like the recon drone, you can either let the thing spot people for you, but they get notified of that that they've been spotted, or you just look at them and ping them like the normal way, and that doesn't, no one knows about that. Like they don't get notified that they've been pinged. So, obviously, not obviously, I would say it really has no use in solos. And probably limited use in duos. But obviously, as you get more people on the squad, you can cover those other things. Like one person can have a heartbeat, or two people can have a heartbeat, and then one person can have like a stun, and then the other person can have a spotter scope. And that way, you kind of covered all bases for engagements. You can spot at long distance, you can stun up close, you can heartbeat for things as well. So, because I do think it is a bit redundant. And they're sort of missing a whole new aspect of gameplay by having such a limited stock of tactical equipment. Because if everyone's just running fucking heartbeats, then it makes the gameplay very flat. Whereas if they introduce new and unique tacticals that actually put up a fight against the usefulness of the heartbeat sensor, you're going to get people running different things or using the different tacticals, and it's going to potentially change up the play. It's not going to be so linear.
And a little further, to also change up possibly perks, so that people will run ghosts because the people can know that everyone else is rocking heartbeat sensor. So to keep yourself away from that, you got to run ghosts to not be on the heartbeat sensor. So if people are in the game like, oh, I'm not really sure what they're running for tactical, I can maybe not have to use Go. So it, like I said, it would change the whole dynamic of the game, which I think kind of needs it. It's still pretty set in its ways of the same old shit.
Exactly. I do think they need to do something to change, not gunfighting necessarily. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they do need to do something to change like how you approach situations, how you approach buildings, how you clear buildings, how you approach fights, how you're looking for enemies. They really need to do something, and we talked about this a bunch, as far as like something to challenge power positions, aka roofs, or just higher, second floors. So
a deployable ladder that they were talking about.
I know, I totally forgot about that actually. So I do think adding new tactical things in, new tactical equipment in, could help change how things are done, which would help make the game less stale, less linear, and just more freedom to kind of play different ways, which I think is good. So
for sure. If you don't play a certain way, like you have zero chance of winning.
Yeah, exactly. New guns in the Gulag. Basically, everything is an option now except for shotguns and the riot shield. So, and LMGs, right?
It's no full
Well,
auto. It's like no full autos, anything. It's all semi-auto rifles, like.
Oh yeah, they did. I was gonna say
FAL,
they have taken out full autos,
like FAL, snipers, and marksman rifles.
That's true.
And
for some reason, I thought it was everything else. But you're right. I haven't seen.
They don't stack.
I haven't seen an auto gun.
Yeah, they take one section out and add another thing. But
So I take that back. Semi-auto rifles, so marksman rifles, snipers, the FAL, and then just fist and throwing knife loadout. So
and a crossbow.
I
didn't even know. I saw earlier today, like Nick Merckx was in there with a crossbow. I'm like, oh, I had no idea crossbow was in there. I haven't seen that at all yet.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
It's pure clip. It's a clip breeding ground for Twitter and stuff like that, because you can hit some cool shots. Like I've got some nice throwing knife kills. I'm like, oh,
it's not as enjoyable though. Here's how I look at the Gulag in its evolution. People complain about pistols and shotguns, and I think they complain about that. Or my complaints about pistols and shotguns were the shitty pistols, like the fucking revolver, the M19, the 1911.
Piece of shit thing.
So like there's three pistols that just suck. Everything else I was fine with, and I was fine with shotguns, honestly. And then they went to auto weapons, so SMGs and ARs, no LMGs. And
oh god,
that just sort of, I know, right? That just sort of bred camping. I feel like people would just mount up in the back spawn, and they saw like, and they would melt you. So, and then now snipers or semi-auto weapons, it's, I wouldn't say it's made it worse. It has in some situations, but it just, Well, the Gulag's not a place for for sniper rifles and semi-auto. I mean, they could keep the FAL. I'd be okay with the FAL because
the marksman rifles are fine.
Yeah,
it's all iron sight, so it's kind of cool. You can kind of make some
Yeah.
cool things happen. But yeah,
I flicked on
the
somebody with the
AX-50
car the other day.
Yeah,
That was great.
The AX-50, HDR, and the Dragunov all have high-powered sniper scopes. So
Yeah.
it's just like, hello.
So it's a giant pain in the ass.
It's still a lot of camping. People like, I mean, the way I play it, I just stand in my back line. I either look down my left,
Yeah.
or right lane, and just try to snipe from there.
So
those sniper rifles are definitely still campy, but the other stuff I'm kind of fine with. Like the
honestly,
DMRs is kind of fun. The throwing knives in fists, I get like a nice laugh at.
Undefeated in fists. I'm undefeated with fists. If I get just fist, undefeated. So
I think I've lost once.
I think honestly, given what the Gulag is and kind of that idea of being captured, they should go back to pistols. I say do pistols only, no shotguns and no throwables. Like at that point, it is a game of skill. Like the Gulag should be a place.
Flashes,
yeah,
I hate flashes so much because it's just nothing you can do.
You're
screwed.
The Gulag should be a place where skill prevails. You know, the or just timing. Because COD's a hard game to get timing out of completely. You know, you can be peeking a lane for like 20 seconds. The minute you look away and look back, he's right there with a pistol up your face. So that's a tough one for sure. But I think the Gulag, it should be something that's more skill based and not something that's just like, oh, like I sprayed first. And you know, for some reason, COD seems to give you like a plus 20 to accuracy whenever you're jumping and sliding. So like people are just jumping, hip firing their auto weapons and killing you so quickly, which I think is dog shit. So I do think, you know, I would prefer pistols only, no throwables, and then, you know, at that point, you know, like I said, it's skill. It's skill. Get in there.
Here's a thought for COD. They can steal this one from us too. Like they've like gone through all the sets of classes you can, except for LMGs. So I'm sure they have some numbers, information back from the community. So now they can just take all that information and make one set Gulag with weapons people want to see in there. So
the problem is that that's going to change. You know, people were fine with the pistols, and then the more they played it, they're like, "Fuck pistols! I want ARs and SMGs." They gave it to us. Then I think the more, at least for me, the more you played it, I'm like, God, fuck ARs and SMGs. I want pistols back. Then they're hey, you want pistols? We'll give you high-powered pistols, aka sniper rifles.
To have people stop complaining, just give us every single gun possible.
I guess.
You can't be like, give me this because
it's
there. It's just a luck of draw to get it or not.
I'd say take out throwables. I think in either scenario you go, take out throwables. I hate throwables. I think you're captured technically by enemies and you're in the fucking prison death fighting with another inmate trying to get out. Like, they're not going to say, hey, here's a sniper rifle. Oh, and here's a throwing knife and a stun grenade. Or here's a C4.
Into the crowd and kill people and escape.
So I think throwables should be removed. I mean, it goes along more. I mean, I know that it's Call of Duty. They're not like super worried about like the overall story of the game and the like how it's perceived, but it just fits more in line with like what you're trying to get across. Like you're captured, you got to fight to the death to get out. Like no one's gonna give you, it's a miracle they're giving you guns, and they're not gonna give you fucking grenades to throw around too. So that is my 2 cents on it, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean they kind of done that. Like the throwables now in this wave of stuff is all shit, like smoke grenades and decoy grenades. So they don't there's no stuns, which I'm happy about. So
that's
most
true.
Of the throwables right now don't do ass anyway. So they kind of done that without actually doing it.
Yeah. So nice. Gun updates. Guns.
A lot, but these I picked out kind of ones I thought were the most.
Yeah. There is a ton of updates, and we actually, I put up a little blog post on our website about it that probably actually includes even more than what we've talked about here. So if you go to wkeypodcast.com, look at the recent blog post, just scroll down the homepage a little bit, you'll find an overview of the patch notes. But we're gonna give you some quick stuff that we think is more important to know, I guess. AX-50, they increased the damage range, which I still don't think is done enough for the gun. personally. I'm just not a huge
haven't
fan
tried.
of it.
I haven't even tried it out yet since the
I
since the
I
update.
can't
So I've
knock.
been using the car 9.
Yeah, I can't knock a single fucking person with the AX50. The bullet drop is too much for me. Even with the increased damage range, I still think like it's hard unless you get a headshot. Like and it's just I played HDR from the get go. I think I just like the HDR better.
Oh yeah, you're just kind of yourself
Yeah.
solidified in a way.
And then speaking of the HDR, it's a guaranteed one hit to the lower torso at any range. So that's a one hit to break armor, I believe.
I was about to say, what does that even mean?
I
was reading
yeah.
that, I had no idea what it meant.
If
Guaranteeing one hit to us.
I'm 90%
If
sure.
you hit him in the toe, it's just gonna instantly break their armor.
No, lower torso only. So
Lower torso.
yeah, so legs are not part of the torso. It's like the lower gut. Because like now it would have to be upper like chest or above at any range to break. And I guess there's a distinction, but essentially hips and up at this point from any range should break armor in one shot, with the headshot obviously being a one shot down.
Makes sense. I might have to be an HDR guy too. That sounds powerful as shit.
It honestly, it sounds like it should be better, but I'm still getting white plate hits on people. So I know that the Rytek's a little bugged right now with like with XP and damage, I think, being done improperly with the different types of rounds, the exploding rounds and the incendiary rounds. So there might be a bug with the HDR. I haven't seen anyone posting anything about it, but I've still gotten a fair amount of white plate hits. And granted, I mean, they've been from longer distances and they might have just been hitting in the leg.
Yeah.
So that could be the case. Car 9 got a pretty big buff. Increased ADS speed, small decrease to hip spread, and then increased damage range as well. So I have not used it much. I mean, have you noticed a big difference with it, or?
I mean, I can't really say I do because I never really used it a bunch beforehand.
Okay.
But then I read this, I'm like, I want to try this out because I like to snipe, but I do enjoy not having a big clunky actual sniper rifle. So
Yeah.
I saw these buffs and I was like, let me give it a chance. I mean, it does come up to the face real quick. The ADS is like very fast when I'm thinking about my X50, how long that takes to pull up. So the ADS speed's great. Damage range, I'm getting some cracked armors. Like it's like a 2-tap. On people.
I would say that's always been the biggest problem for me. I don't like the sniper scope, the reticle that's in the sniper scope that you have to use.
You have to grind. I have the second one on.
Okay.
A lot better. If you just grind to the next level, at least you'll have.
I had a hard time hitting headshots with that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you don't hit headshots, you're not downing people very often.
Yep. Yeah. I will definitely say you have to grind to at least at the minimum get the second sniper scope reticle because the first one is absolute cheeks.
So getting clapped by those cheeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So car, pretty big buff. Just for like essentially like usability and how it handles in the game. FAL got a massive buff. Yeah, there's a ton of people running FAL setups. It's shredding at especially close range because they basically there's a damage shelf with a one-hit headshot potential at close range. So you could one hit down someone in the head if at close range. So I mean, one of our buddies, Nick, he uses a FAL class, and he says like even just up close, he just like sprays. Just click as fast as you can, and it rips, which I get it. I understand. I do think it favors PC players a little bit more than controller players. Because I do think it's more fine-tuned. It's easy. It's harder to aim, accurately and shoot with the controller for the vast majority of players. And then 2, I would say you probably click faster than you can pull the trigger. So up close, the PC is going to have a rate of fire, like a DPS advantage over a controller. So I would say this probably is more beneficial to the majority. It's beneficial to a wider range of PC players and a smaller range of controller players. So
yeah, I was playing shipment early today to try to go on the FAL because it's very low level because I want to get pretty decked out so I can give it a whirl, and given it's hardcore where a breeze kills anyone.
Oh, it rips in hardcore.
So I was running around shipment just nuking people. I enjoy myself. So I definitely want to get leveled up and give it at least a few games.
Yeah.
A few goes in Warzone, see how it goes.
It's pretty good. MP5. So the next two guns are the king of Warzone.
People called for.
Yeah, the MP5 and the Grau, obviously. They technically got nerfs, but as we talk about it, you're going to see that they're really not nerfs at all. The MP5 got a decrease to damage range overall, which is great. And then it got a decrease to the 10 millimeter damage range. So I don't know if that stacks actually. So if the overall damage range is there, and then once you add the 10 millimeter, you get an additional damage range decrease, which would make sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like, base stat, it's down a little bit.
Yeah.
Before you'd add it and it'd boost it. Now it probably only just boosts it. It just probably just boosts it less than what it used to do.
Potentially, yeah. And then it reduced the long range damage of the 10 millimeter ammo as well, and then a slight recoil increase to the 10 millimeter ammo. What I say to this is like, who the fuck cares about the 10 millimeter ammo? Like, there's not many people that use 10 millimeter ammo.
Hammer. Yeah, I didn't see such a hammer coming down on the 10 millimeter, but
yeah, I mean, well, because realistically, people wanted a change or a nerf coming to the MP5, because even reading through the patch notes and the changes they did make to the MP5, it's still the king up close. Like, okay, they decreased the damage range a little bit. Most people are running a Grau MP5. You just have to find that fine line now. But even in that situation, most people are only using the MP5 to shred people up close anyways. And based on this, it doesn't seem like that's changed at all. So you're still going to be running around getting an MP5 muzzle shoved up your butt. And that is what it is.
Decreased damage range like to the gun overall. They did one thing, and it's like for distance where people weren't complaining about it. They're complaining about just getting nuked up close and personal.
Yeah.
And they did absolutely nothing to that except for if you run a 10 mil on it, which, okay, well, fine. I'll just take that off and put a 45 round mag on anyway. So,
yeah.
I mean, I understand not just absolutely nerfing something to the ground to make it unusable. They're like they're, I guess, trying to build their way down, but even still, I feel like what they did is nothing. It's still as dominant as it was before.
Yeah, it really hasn't done anything. I think it really hasn't done anything in affecting how useful it is up close, I guess. So, yeah, it's sad, I guess. I mean, I'm not so, let me put it this way, I guess. I'm not so bent out of shape about this not having the intended effect as I am about the Grau not having the intended effect. So
True.
The Grau got a
MP5s are very prominent, but
yeah.
not nearly what the Grau.
I mean, I get shredded up close no matter what I'm using or whatever gun. Like the minute I get into an up close fight, I get murdered.
Vector, like there's other guns that.
I mean, realistically, the Vector up close is better than the MP5. It just people use the MP5 because it was shredded up close, but also could still maintain some of its range, which is what this nerf has hit at a little bit. So, the Grau got some nerfs as well, quote unquote nerfs. They were all actual nerfs. Damage range got reduced. There was a slight increase to the high frequency recoil. So obviously, the more if you just hold the trigger down to fire, that's what high frequency relates to that. It gets more unruly the faster or the more frequent the shots are happening. So if you just unload the whole clip of 60, the recoil is going to be higher on that than you would if you were bursting it. And then there's a reduced recoil compensation and decreased range on the Tempest 26.4 inch barrel and the Archangel and FSS 20 Nexus. Oh, yeah. So the two barrels, the Archangel 26.4. Got a damage recoil compensation and decreased damage range, and then the FSS 20.8 Nexus also got that same hit. So essentially,
the two big barrels.
Yeah, so essentially it does less damage at range, base stat wise. The more you unload with it in full auto, you have more recoil. You have a little bit more idle sway when aiming down sights with the two most popular barrels, and again, it decreased the damage carry range with those two barrels. Was it enough? No, it hasn't done really anything overly, I wouldn't say overly noticeable, because I do notice it a bit. Realistically, in looking at recoil patterns, and Exclusive Ace has done a video or two on this, it didn't really do a whole lot. essentially. It's
I would
still
say
king, more or less.
you still see playing streamers. Everyone's still using Growl.
Yeah. I mean, I think
guess I'd say
the one thing it did do was like it opens people's eyes up to the fact that the Grow's never technically been the best gun. It's not the fastest to kill. It doesn't have the best damage range. It never was even before the nerf. The M4 kills faster, has a quicker time to kill, has higher DPS. The Kilo has the best damage ranges out of those three guns. The Grow, the M4, and the Kilo. Those are technically speaking the best assault rifles, and so the Grow's always kind of been in the middle, or to the lower end of those two weapons. It's really just the intangibles. It just shoot. The recoil was the big thing, and then how open the iron sight was. Yeah, I mean, so like statistically speaking, it was never the best AR. It had those intangible things that just made it more easy to use.
The spray pattern too of that video that you talked about.
I mean, it's mostly just
go straight up and down, which is pretty easy to control. Where it feels kind of off to the left, M4 is kind of like a zigzag.
Yeah.
So it's tougher to adjust those two guns where the Grow's just like straight up and down. So you pull down on your joystick, pull down on your mouse, and boom, you're in the money zone. I will say, these nerfs, I'd say close the gap a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're still seeing a lot of Grows out there, but you are also now seeing, M4s, Kilos, and M13s in people's arsenals too. So I will say definitely close the gap. Hasn't changed the fact that Grow is still top dog, I think. But again, like I said for the MP5, I think I say COD, I guess, go about it the right way. You don't want to just blast something to the ground and make it completely unusable. So just taking small steps, seeing how it goes, and they can just keep rolling out more nerfs if you have to. So.
Yeah, I do agree with that to an extent. I think one way they could go, instead of nerfing things into the ground, I mean, they could put out a blueprint. I mean, they could buff everything out, but they could put out, because I will say I've been using the Kilo a lot more, and I like it. It does seem to kill faster than the Grow. It is better up close.
At range too.
At range.
It does more damage,
yep.
Which I can definitely notice.
I don't know if it's more maneuverable or what, but it kills up closer too. Because like my biggest thing with the Grow is I'd always lose a bunch of mid-range gunfights to other Grows or to other weapons. I don't notice that as much with the Kilo. And so, I mean, I've been liking it, but I will say, the iron sight's just not as good. It's pretty open, but it's just not as good as the Grow. So I mean, if they
such good iron sights.
Yeah, so I mean, if they put out some blueprints to maybe open up some different blueprints that had different iron sight setups on the Kilo, the M4, the M13, I think you'd see more people using it. If you got that half circle, kind of like how the Grow is all open on the top part of the thing. If you took the Kilo and the M13 iron sights and just chopped off the top half and it just had a half circle.
Dude, give me like the Scar iron sights are pretty solid.
Scar iron sights are pretty good.
Iron sights and put those on the
M4 I do like that. So that could be a route they could go instead of like changing any damage numbers, because it's still it never was the best. So to their credit, they're not making it the worst either. You know what I mean? So I think that could be another route to go. Basically, give these other guns some new blueprints that change up the iron sights a little bit more to make the iron sights a little freer. And I think you'd see a lot more variation in the guns that you're getting killed with.
For sure.
So
because because I know personally myself, I usually go a red dot on the Kilo just because I'm not a big fan of iron sights. So yeah, you give it so I can do iron sights on the Kilo, and then I can add a different attachment somewhere else to make my gun that much more closer to a Grow. So like I said, close the gap. Still could be a ways to go. But we'll see what they do. They're definitely they're not gonna blow this thing up. They're gonna slow play it for now.
I think so too. Yeah, it's just a little. It's still stale, I guess, is the biggest thing. Still a little stale. So
I know. I mean, I think
it's gotten better. I think it's gotten a little bit better.
A lot more different guns out there.
Yeah.
Before legit every kill cam was Grow.
Or MP5.
Now I'm getting killed, and I'm seeing M13s, M4s, Kilos.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think I guess if I had to rate it, I'd say it's like a B plus.
Yeah.
It's doing what they want to do. You're not seeing it as prominent, but still powerful.
Yeah. So there's that. That pretty much covers everything, we want to talk about COD wise. That was a pretty big topic. The next two things are potentially going to be lengthy as well. So this might be a longer episode. So just be prepared for that. A couple of these things are sort of intertwined if you're buying into one of the theories about the second thing we want to talk about. First thing, we're probably not going to talk a ton about it. We'll probably mention it and then jump into what the other thing we want to talk about.
Preface.
Yeah, preface. We're going to use this to preface the next topic. Shroud and Ninja still have not picked a new streaming platform.
Weird.
It is kind of weird. In our last episode, if you watched it, we did both speculate that inevitably Shroud and Ninja would come back to Twitch. And I don't think we ever really gave a timeline on it, but I said, maybe they take like a week or two off, maybe a month. I think I mentioned like at most, like taking a month off. They seem to be doing that to an extent. They seem to be taking time off, whether it's voluntary or if they're waiting for something else. That has still yet to be seen.
Like you figure I don't think it's voluntary because you think if they were taking time off, they would tweet us on the.
They would have, yeah. I feel like
make a decision on where I want to go. I'll let you know. They haven't said anything.
No.
They're not saying a thing about this decision.
Nope. So it is weird. So those are the two things that make it very weird. Is one, it's their livelihood. They're missing out on money. I mean, they did just get a massive payoff from Facebook or Mixer. Basically Ninja got 40 million and Shroud got 10 million or something like that. So, they bought them out of their contracts. They just made a fucking ass ton of money. So I don't think they're necessarily super worried about the income that they're losing from not streaming. But it's going to make getting back into streaming harder because, you're going to have to make up those viewers and make up those subs. It takes a while to build that back up. Even for the biggest streamers, they take some time off. It takes time to get back up there. And yeah, we don't know where they're going. And they haven't said, like you said, they haven't said that they're taking time off. They haven't said that they're not taking time off. They haven't announced where the new platform, what platform they're going back to. So it's really, really odd. And,
Shroud, I feel like I keep checking Shroud's Twitter, and the last thing he tweeted was like, "Oh, thanks, Mixer." Other than that,
it's been a week or 2 weeks at this point.
This was on the 22nd of June.
Yep. So two weeks, yeah, pretty much.
2 Mondays ago,
yep.
And nothing, and he's been out of it, not saying anything for 2 weeks.
So this sort of plays into the next topic. So unless you're living under a rock, that Dr. Disrespect got banned from Twitch about 2 weeks ago. It was 2 Thursdays ago? 2 Wednesdays ago?
I mean, it was in the same week.
It's pretty much the same day. I think it was the same Wednesday or Monday.
And then we record on Monday.
Yeah.
Live recording on Monday. So Michigan got shut down Monday. And
so it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. It might have been Wednesday. So yeah, I think it was the 24th. I think.
Yeah, so somewhere in that same. All you need to know is somewhere in that same exact week that Michigan got shut down, this happened.
Yes. So Doc got banned, and it happened quick. I mean, midstream, boom, off, channel gone. Some really bizarre lead ups to him getting banned. And so as of now, Doc's tweeted that he doesn't know why. Twitch hasn't told him why he's been banned, and Twitch hasn't said anything. Twitch has basically just gave the vague, he violated community guidelines or something like that. So both sides have been very vague as to why the Doc's been banned. And then you've had people on, third parties like Slasher, who's a well-known esports reporter or just, gaming industry streaming reporter. And then also Shannon, Sacriel's wife, who honestly, I don't know much about her, but I'm pretty sure she's pretty cued into Twitch. I don't know if she used to work at Twitch or if she's got obviously some connections at higher up in Twitch. both people are saying they know why Doc's been banned. It's bad. And out of like the respect for the situation and everything, that they're not going to say what it was. They're not going to come out and say why he was banned.
It's pretty like wild because people just salivate to
Yeah.
tear someone down or bust a big news. So the fact that I know why, I'm not going to say it. I can't imagine what it is.
So essentially there's 3 theories, and one of them is pretty much more or less debunked at this time. We wrote a kind of an overview article, or tried to summarize all this as well on our website. So again, WK Podcast, go there, check it out. First theory was DMCA. So, we talked about it not last episode, the episode before. There's been a bunch of DMCA issues on Twitch. The record companies seem to be wanting to enforce and strong arm their DMC, the laws, essentially what Twitch has in place as far as guidelines that they've never really been enforcing. The record companies have been putting more muscle on Twitch to actually enforce that kind of stuff. So first thought was DMCA. When it happened right away, everyone was like, oh, it must have been DMCA. Like, it had to have been. At the height of DMCA. Yeah. That has more or less been debunked. For a few.
The songs he plays aren't like stuff from record labels. It's all like a synth wave.
Well, I think someone makes the songs for him. Honestly, yeah. He has a Spotify Dr. Disrespect like playlist. So I think someone makes it for him, or whoever he's using artists. I think he's obviously checking with them to make sure it's okay. Yeah.
And they're giving thumbs up for him to do it.
So there was that, and then also just given the fact that he had, he lost his Discord partnership. Supposedly he was cut off of Game Fuel. He lost those dolls that came out recently. He lost that. Some of those things have turned out to be false. The Game Fuel, Mountain Dew Game Fuel website still shows his logo. I don't know about now. I have not checked recently, but even like a week after he got banned, it was still showing his logo. The company that did the dolls confirmed that his contract was up. It just happened to coincide with him getting banned. His contract and his run at having those dolls was up, so that's why it's gone. The Discord partnership, they said he lost his Discord partnership. I haven't checked on that to see if that actually is true, because he still has a server. I'm part of the server. So he's still got the server. He may have lost partnership. I don't know for sure. So kind of all these different sponsors and ad partners dropping him sort of would lend. And if it was DMCA, I think, they would have came out already and said, hey, it was DMCA related. Like, that's why.
Yeah, the fact that
it's been 2 weeks and it hasn't. Yeah, there's been nothing.
And you haven't heard anything. It leads me to believe it's something.
And then just the stark, like the stark punishment and reaction. Everyone, supposedly a bunch of sponsors dropping him right away. Because I think his stuff's all over Rocket still, or Rocket. I think like his logo's still on the Rocket page. So like, at first, people were making it sound like he lost all his partners like right away, or all his sponsorships right away. But based on what I've seen since then, it hasn't been all of them. So because of that, because of the swift kick and just the severity of everything that followed, and nothing being talked about to this point, it's pretty obvious it's not DMCA. No. The second theory. More believable, I guess. Something that
plays off of the Shroud Ninja.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to go the other way first. Leave that one for the last. So, okay. Second theory that I tend to look at it in this theory in this way, because this is kind of how it happened chronologically. First, it was DMCA. After all the partners and things, he got the swift kick and all these other things happened. People immediately jumped to some sort of sexual abuse, Me Too related issue because of everything that's happening on Twitch and the streaming industry.
Still is prominent right now.
Yeah, so
everyone's getting blasted.
There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's this high level people at Twitch that are being accused of things. There's tons of streamers. famous streamers. Yep.
Shut the door.
Ton of Mixer streamers, ton of Twitch streamers that are all being accused of various, sexual assault, sexual harassment, things like that. Use of their platform and their power to kind of groom younger females, things like that. So people kind of immediately jumped to this thought, and there was a comment on the YouTube video. So if you watch the last 8 minutes of his stream, the stream that he got canned on, it's weird. It's really odd, and it gets weirder towards the end. But essentially, at one point he like checks his phone, and his demeanor completely changes at that point.
Like of whatever is going on, he definitely gets informed. Then you can see his mood just does a big 180. He just goes like super depressed.
He gets quiet. He's talking. He rambles on about some weird conspiracy book or something like that. And he's just not himself. So the comment, and obviously again, this is all speculation, and you can without all the knowledge or all the info, you can kind of make any situation fit a narrative you want it to fit. And so this comment basically goes that like, hey, when he got the text message, it was, Twitch letting him know he's being banned for something sexual assault related, and the situation was bad enough that it was incurring legal repercussions. And so that's the text message. That's when his mood changed. And then at one point, Mrs. Assassin, his wife, comes in. I don't think you can see her on screen. I can't remember exactly. But he's talking to her. And the YouTube comment claims that that's when she tells him, the cops are outside of the house, you shut it down. You got to shut it down. Like, let's go. And he obviously doesn't shut it down. And then basically at the very, very end of the stream, he's kind of silent, and then you sort of hear a bang, like a noise. He's kind of looking around, like he's looking at people entering his streaming space, and he just kind of goes, "Fuck!" And then that's when the stream ends. And the YouTube comment claims that that's when the cops actually kind of enter the streaming space to arrest him. So the theory is that he got arrested for something sexually related. There's that, and then there's a little bit of a different play on it that essentially, so there's that theory that it's a legally related sexual assault issue, a case that they had built, that they proved, and he has been arrested for something sexually related.
That kind of like I don't know if that. I personally don't think that's what happened, but at the same time, looking at the facts, it kind of aligns with what's going on, because people are like, oh, I know what's happening.
Well, yeah,
and I don't want to say anything because
of the situation, the sensitivity of the situation, and stuff like that. Yeah,
and it also kind of plays in the fact that the reason we haven't heard anything about it because people aren't allowed to say anything.
Yeah,
the law, the government's like, yeah, you can't say anything until this is taken care of. So
the lot
of factors that's going on with it play towards that scenario.
Yeah. The problem I have with that is, he is famous, sure, whatever, or fame, he has a level of fame. Is he the most famous person out there? No, but he is a famous person. It doesn't matter if you're famous or not. If you get arrested, that is public record. Like, the arrest warrant is public. You can find the record. They can't hide it. They're not allowed to hide it. So the fact that it happened 2 weeks ago, if they had hard evidence to move on him for an actual sexual assault or something related to that, and he was being arrested for that reason, there would be an arrest file somewhere already for Guy's the actual man behind the Doc persona. There would be an arrest warrant out there already. And most likely, given his level of fame or his level of notoriety on the platform, news outlets probably would have picked it up too. People would have been talking about it. So
when someone famous gets arrested, it's like instantly released and talked about. So
yeah. So those are.
So I don't think that's what's going on.
Those are my two. Well, that and like, why would his wife support him? If it's like, if he got arrested for like sexually assaulting somebody, why would his wife be there to be like, hey, the cops are here, you got to go? Why wouldn't she just stomp in and rip the monitor down and everything like that? Like
her Instagram too, like when it all happened, she's like, oh, thank you, Champions Club. Like,
yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So she's all supportive.
So there's the wife aspect that doesn't jive with the story. There's the fact that there's no arrest record or anything, or any public records of guy being arrested. And there's the fact that the news outlets haven't picked anything up about him being arrested, which to me poke a lot of serious holes in that theory. The other, I would say, theory, that's theory 2A. Theory 2B is that the woman he cheated on his wife with, 2 years ago? Is it 2 years ago or a year ago, 2 years ago? So the woman he cheated with his wife on 2 years ago, the reason that he took the time off, the reason it went from the Slick Daddy Club to the Champions Club, and he kind of rebranded.
So he didn't get a ban from Twitch for that, right?
No, he took time. That was personal.
Thing, right?
Yeah, that was to basically save his marriage. Yeah. So the theory 2B is the woman he cheated on with his wife is another very prominent female Twitch streamer. Twitch was paying her nicely to keep quiet. Doc just got a recent re-sign on his streaming contract. Presumably it was for a lot more money than it was before because of the fact that there was the threat of competition from Mixer. I bet Twitch is kicking themselves in the ass for that now. And because he got a ton more money, the female streamer also wanted more money, and they didn't want to give it to her. And so she's going to go public, or, basically say that, like, Twitch, bring information to light that Twitch has essentially been protecting him. He was the one doing the illegal act of, cheating on his wife, but yet they're protecting him and they're giving him more money when she wanted more money as for a cover up, she wasn't getting it. So Twitch preemptively banned him. So that if she does come out, it sort of looks like they disciplined him. But I
guess my whole problem is what
doesn't make sense in
what's she gonna bring forward?
Yeah,
we all know what happened.
Unless there was something potentially legally wrong with that scenario. I guess that's where 2A and 2B kind of collide. Is that there was possibly something illegal happening, some illegal act happened during that episode of infidelity.
I guess, but isn't it illegal for her to not say anything because she's taking bribe money?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I would say, yeah. I mean, she's sort of taking bribe money. Yeah. Or, she didn't tell anyone that, she got assaulted. I don't mean to sound like I'm dismissive. But maybe she didn't tell anyone that she was assaulted against her will at the time, but because he got more money, she's like, fuck them. She gathered the strength to actually admit to the fact that she was assaulted, and maybe that's more close to the truth. And
I think 2B is like slightly debunked, just because I'm pretty sure that post that we read that kind of explained it said that the woman who claims to be this
was Alinity.
Oh no, not that.
That
she was gonna come forward in the next few days.
Yeah, and no one has
stuff, and it's been 2 weeks and no one has. Yeah. So
Alinity was trending the same day Doc was, so everyone was like, oh, he cheated on his wife with Alinity. Yeah. So those are the two sides of the second theory. I tend not to believe that theory. I mean, given the swift action and the severity of what's happened, that does make the most sense for the most part. If you're thinking about it that way,
sensitive information they don't want to share it, so
that makes
kind of things play into that.
That makes the most sense. But theory 3 would also make a lot of sense, and I'll basically explain why I think so. But theory 3 is essentially he was planning to move. He just re-signed his new contract with Twitch, for 3 to 5 years, I'm assuming. And he, even though he signed it, he basically was in talks with moving to a new streaming platform with Ninja and Shroud. This is how it plays into them not making their choice yet. And they were essentially recruiting other streamers to poach from Twitch to bring them to this platform, whether it's a new platform. So there's been two big platforms that have kind of popped up that a lot of people are hot and bothered about. One called Brime and another one called Trovo. Brime did a Q&A, and they say they're launching later this year, yada yada yada. I don't.
They just keep denying. They just keep like,
I know.
We have no idea.
I don't buy much of what Brime says, and I didn't really realize why until I watched Harris Heller's video. Again, another Harris shout out. That man makes great YouTube content. You should go check him out. But he was saying, a lot of the comment, who are you? And he says, the Brime account says, I'm a man, I'm a streamer, I'm a gamer, blah blah blah. It's like, so basically, it just sounds like people, potentially a group of kids or friends, not kids, but like early 20-something-year-olds that are just fed up with Twitch. And they wanted to make their own platform, but they just don't really know. They don't have any direction. They don't know how to make it. They don't know what the market needs or what the market wants. They're just like, oh, fuck Twitch. We're gonna make a new platform. So he's like,
they don't even have a website yet.
No,
so
exactly. So he's like, I don't foresee them actually ever launching, probably. So there's that, and then Trovo is owned by Tencent, which is a Chinese company that basically owns a little bit of everything. They own PUBG. Yeah, I think they own PUBG overall. I think they bought Bluehole. Yeah. So that, and then they also own that Ring of Elysium game. That was a Tencent game as well.
I knew there was 2 games.
Yeah.
That were okay.
And so Trovo's owned by Tencent. It's been in China already. It's starting to roll out a bit in the United States. But again, it's going back to the video where we talked about why Mixer's growth was so low. They weren't doing anything to differentiate themselves. They didn't have a hook. They didn't have better discoverability. They didn't have like a social aspect to the platform, like a feed of clips that you just scrolled through and you're like, oh shit, that's funny. I want to go to that stream. Whereas Facebook has those things all wrapped up together. And Twitch is only where it is because it's the OG. You know what I mean? And so given the fact that, Mixer just tried to throw money at it. Tencent's got a ton of money in the world, just like Microsoft does. And based on what I've seen on the page for Trovo, they're not really innovating anything. It looks a lot like Twitch. They've even claimed that it's more mobile focused. I don't know if they meant mobile gamer or mobile viewing focused, but either way, it doesn't look like it's going to be a serious competitor to Twitch either. It's not going to do anything to Twitch. So, those were the 2 hot platforms that everyone was like, oh shit, is Doc going to Brime or is he going to Trovo? And then there was even
someone put up like a fake
Spotify.
Trovo.
Well, I saw that too. So there was a fake. I'm assuming it was a fake Doc account on Trovo. But then there was another theory posted on Reddit. Yeah, that he was going to go. That Spotify is in the works of making a streaming platform.
Trending too on Twitter, like Spotify Gaming. But if you went to the page or click any of the URLs they had, it just bring you to like a 401 page not found.
Yeah,
so that was all just a hoax too.
So, well, potentially, maybe they're not ready to release and this shit happened and, they didn't plan on Doc getting found out just quite yet. They didn't have anything in place. So they're just kind of burning all the bridges or keeping everything under wraps. But yeah, there's the whole Spotify gaming theory is also been floated out there. The reason that I'm saying all of that, or the reason that I say that the swift reaction to all his partners or from all his sponsors and stuff like that could also be explained via this route as well, because who wants to do work with someone who's disloyal, who lies, someone who agrees to a contract and then, a month or 2 later is planning to break said contract for more money. So you have to look at it that way because, a lot of people are looking at it based on the personal level and like the moral level and the legal level for the sexual assault theory. But at its heart, they're businesses. And if they feel that Doc is an untrustworthy business partner, they're going to be swift to cut ties to ensure that they incur the least amount of losses possible. So it's also explainable through that route, I feel like, as well. And I personally, love him or hate him or hate him because he cheated on his wife, which is, it's warranted, that hate. I just don't feel like I don't feel like he's a predator. I don't know him at all. I just watch him. I just don't feel like that is him. So I tend not to lean towards the whole sexual assault theory. I tend to lean more towards this theory. So
Yeah, I mean, I would too. Yeah, if I had to pick any three, it's the one about going somewhere else. But at the same time, like, I
why
guess
isn't
why
anyone,
why would
if
you
Shannon and Slasher
go?
know that it's that, why wouldn't they just say that? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
why would you? You just got paid a shit ton of money. Why would you leave Twitch to go to a smaller place where they probably can't offer you as big of a contract, or you'd lose a lot of viewers and then lose a lot of money? It's just, I don't know. It's just,
So that's where the Spotify theory gets a little bit more, not more weight, but like becomes more plausible because Spotify's got
yeah,
a ton of money. You know,
they can swing with
they
like
they
bigger guys.
just signed, this is a different world, but they just signed Joe Rogan to an exclusivity deal for his podcast. It's
Okay.
exclusively going to be on Spotify in the new year, I think, or something like that. So they've got the money. They're realizing the need to make certain entertainers platform specific, and they're also probably got a good pulse on the fact that the streaming world is a very lucrative space that could be very beneficial to them, and they might also realize that no one's really doing it to the best capabilities yet because
I,
Facebook I think is content just
yeah,
being Facebook with a bit of
the
gaming there. They don't ever want to
yep.
be like a gaming website. That's why they haven't overtaken Twitch because based on what they have socially and the integrations they have with like sharing your clips to your wall and your direct connection to your friends and family when you stream and all the social aspects of Facebook, if they wanted to become known as a gaming site, they could overtake Twitch pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say so. Today I listened to Keemstar's theory. Did you
yeah,
hear his at all?
no, I tend
Okay,
not to listen to anything he says because
I mean, yeah, I don't like
I
him
really
either,
don't like him.
but his kind of I think it could easily fit in with all these three, and it makes kind of Twitch look like the asshole in the story.
Yeah,
So his theory is that, I mean, Doc before Mixer shut down would always kind of I don't know,
shit on Mixer.
you can't take you can't take him serious sometimes. So he
Oh,
talked about how he received a big number of offers from Mixer
yeah,
before he signed his deal with Twitch. So obviously Twitch would come back and probably gave him more money than what Mixer's offering, so he would stay with them, not get poached to Mixer.
yeah,
Mixer gets shut down, so now Twitch doesn't have to worry about Mixer poaching Doc anymore. So
they,
Twitch, looking to save money, technically it's because they say he violated their terms of service or something like that. Twitch decides what
the terms of
is a
services.
violation,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like they make the rules. So they could have gone in and made up anything to get him banned. So hey, you did this, and we don't like that. So
DMCA
see you later.
technically he does.
Yeah, true.
If they can't prove that he has the right to play that music, they could hit him for that.
So they can go in, they can decide wherever they want, and I'm pretty sure if they do go that route, oh, you violated the terms of service, they don't have to pay him the remaining of his contract. So they basically said, oh, Mixer's not around anymore. They can't poach you from us anymore. Well, we don't want to spend our money on it anymore. So we're gonna make up this fake thing that you violated, and we're not gonna give you your money, and now you're banned, and we get all our money back.
That's actually a good theory. The whole I had the thought I have on that is if that was the case, I'm sure execs at YouTube or Facebook would have known that, or Doc's team would have potentially leaked that info to those players to get offers to Doc from those two different platforms. Unless Doc is just so dead set on being on Twitch, because if YouTube came to him and was like, "Hey, Twitch wanted to offer you this much money, we're going to offer you double that." My guess is he would probably jump to YouTube, unless he's just so confident and dead set that Twitch is the only place to have a successful streaming career. I can't. I would see him just saying, "Fuck you, Twitch. All right, you're gonna finagle me out of my contract. I'm gonna go sign for double at YouTube." You know what I mean? And just doing that, and then
It's like,
that being out there already. Unless he has to fight the legal battle with Twitch over wrongful termination or greasy way they terminated him before he can sign a new contract. That might also be a situation. So that's a good thought. That's a good theory too. So,
yeah, I mean, I listened to it, and I know what that actually makes sense. If it's in a lot of things, is
but that's still I still don't know if that plays into what Shannon and
no, yeah.
Slasher had to
Again,
say about the
the
reasons.
we know why, but we're not comfortable saying
Yeah.
that, like, nothing really fits to that I don't know. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Anything. But I heard it. I'm like, you know what? That kind of makes some good sense too from everything else that's going on. So
Yeah.
shit. It's I don't know, the fact that it's taken so long and we've heard in 2 weeks and people are saying I know why, but I don't want to share it.
And then Shroud and Ninja not making any decisions yet. Like,
they haven't decided anything either. It's like they're kind of waiting for this to play itself out.
well, that maybe, and that could also lend to that too, because the whole idea of like being an unfaithful business partner goes two ways. You know, if they know that Twitch fucked Doc out of his contract because Mixer went under, you know, what would make them trust Twitch to want to go sign a contract with them? So maybe they want to see how this all shakes out before they sign. If Twitch, if that is the case, and that theory is true, and Doc is fighting Twitch legally over what happened, you know, maybe they want to see how that shakes out before they sign. So that's a good thought too. That was everything that we had. That was a long episode, compounded by the fact that we started later than we wanted to, and we had some audio issues. You know, we wanted to start at 8. We didn't really start until about 9 or 8:45. So I'm glad for everyone hanging around with us. We've got some people pop into the chat. It's been much appreciated. You know, if you're watching a VOD of this, why don't you check us out on our Twitter, our Instagrams, you know, our social media. Essentially, every site is W_key_podcast. So Twitter and Instagram, those are our handles there. We have a Facebook page as well, just WKey Podcast. Like I've mentioned a few times, we have a website. Go check out our website, WKeyPodcast.com. You can go there and check that stuff out. Other than that, you know, if you enjoy the content, you enjoy the show, you enjoy the podcast as a whole, and you think that someone else might enjoy it, you know, a friend, family member, whoever it might be, share that with them. Share us with them. Word of mouth is huge for us as far as getting out and getting, you know, widening our reach and getting in more ears. So let them know. A good place to send them would be to our Podchaser page, which is in the description of the audio recording. So if you're listening to this on your podcast app, a link to our Podchaser page is in that. If you're anywhere else, you can go to our Twitch, click the link in our bio, or in our Twitch, our Twitter or Instagram, click the link. That'll give you a link to the Podchaser as well. Share our Podchaser page with them. If you're the type of person who is inclined to rating and reviewing, that helps us out hugely on Podchaser as well. They are billed as the IMDb of podcasts, so rating and reviewing us on Podchaser helps us get seen by more people as well. All that stuff is helpful, but again, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. We don't expect you to. We like you to do it. We would like you to do it, and we would appreciate it very much so. But you don't have to. You know, we're just here talking, providing some content for you guys, and if that's what you're content with, then, you know, that's fine with us too. So we do enjoy everyone hanging around and listening. You know, the pandemic has caused a dip in numbers, listenership wise, but, you know, we're not really bothered by that at all. So we're just here talking, two brothers who love gaming, and hopefully you're enjoying what we're spewing out as well. Matt, socials.
We got Technique on Twitter, TECKNEEK, Technique TV on Instagram, which I need to use more, and I stream on twitch.tv/Technique almost every day, Monday through Friday. I've been doing day streams here, and I really like it because I have the net to myself. So if you want to check me out, I'll probably be live sometime tomorrow during the day. Well, yeah, if you're watching live, if you're listening to the audio, I'll be still live probably the next day. You're listening to this during the day, so come on back.
Perfect. That's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, extra long episode for us. There's a lot to talk about. And then obviously our issues with the audio stuff. Yeah. And then the whole audio stuff with our stream booting up to begin with. Obviously, if you're listening on the audio only version in a podcast app, you didn't have to deal with that kerfuffle. But anyone who has been with us throughout this stream, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Keep it up. We really appreciate it. And always remember, you can't spell win without W.